guns. They've stopped. Stabilize your rear deflectors.
So I got more progress on the Y-wing. I got the wings or swing supports or engine supports figured out. I think the last time I recorded something, I was going to use brass tubing, and then I switched and I was going to use one threaded rod, but I ended up doing two, so it's stronger. I didn't like the idea of just putting one in there, so I got another smaller brass rod and I put that in the back. So now there's two brass rods, or two threaded rods supporting the engines, and I just have to put the engine on and put a nut on the end and tighten everything up. I left this one loose because I have to realign this wing. It's a little high, so I have to re-glue it and kind of align it better. But I got some side detail on here, here. Can't really do much other detail on here until I get this support on, because it goes around it and I don't want to get it in the way. So I haven't done any of that yet. But once I get these both secured and aligned, I will finish up the detail that comes with the model. Actually, I'm not even calling it a kit, because it's been more construction, and it should have been advertised as like Y-wing parts, and make a Y-wing from these parts, and it's been crazy trying to figure this stuff out. So these are the kind of builds I like. So it's been a lot of fun for me, but I can see how somebody might get really frustrated if they don't have a lot of tools, or a lot of room to do this stuff. So it's been a process getting everything secure, and with no directions. I kind of used some directions from another kit, but they used a flat aluminum piece that goes through here, and that wasn't going to work for me because I needed to run wire. So I had to figure something else out. So I think this will work. It's very sturdy. It's really sturdy. I can put this on the base and it will sit on the post and secure. So I'm really happy with that. It's not moving forward or anything, so it looks like that's going to work out really well. And all I really have to do is put the engines on, and then put the washer and the nut on there and tighten everything down. So I thought I was being clever, and I built a support for inside the engine so I could slip it in there, and then when I put the post on in the engine, I'd have a flat surface to put the washer and the nut on. But after I hollowed out the engine, it's already square in there. So where the holes line up for the threaded rod, it's actually flat. So I won't have any problem putting on the washer and the nut and have a flat surface to pull everything together. So I saved myself the trouble of actually having to make specialized brackets. I still might put a piece of metal in there between the resin and the washer. I might do that. So I have to do a lot more detail. I haven't started the piping work yet. I have to get the styrene for that. I'm going to use varying sizes of solid styrene tubing and maybe some brass tubing, and figure out where I want all that to go. And I still have to put the back piece on, and there's some other detail work that I have to do. I haven't even thought about the back of the engine part yet. That's going to be a whole separate job. But I'll come back when I have more detail done, because I'm going to be working on the detail for a while. It's going to be a lot of pipes and a lot of small detail that I'm going to put on the hull. Alright, so I got the engines on, and they are almost done. I just have to kind of patch up some of the seam work. And I got some of the piping on. I know I was going to wait to put the engines on until I got the piping work done, but I had to put those on because there was some piping that actually goes up to the engine. Plus, I didn't want to handle the body as much anymore because of the piping, so I know I'm going to break some of that stuff off if I start messing around with the engines and everything else. So I did some of the pipes and they look good so far. This is actually fun to do. About bending this is styrene tubing. I have a whole bunch of different, this is a mess because I'm in like, I'm going pipe crazy here, so I have like all kinds of, you know, stuff to do this. These are varying thicknesses of styrene tubing, and I got all of these at I'm proud to say, a local hobby shop that I went to. Not exactly local because I have to drive an hour to get there, but I needed to actually hold this styrene in my hand to see how thick it was, and I needed all of the styrene to be solid because of the way it bends. I tried using some that's hollow and it just didn't bend right. So what you have to do, it's kind of tedious, and you're probably going to have to do it or figure it out yourself because it's too hard for me to even to show you. Basically what I'm doing is, if you heat it too fast, I tried using something like this, which is a little handheld torch, and I kind of went over the tubing real light just to warm it up, but it gets hot. It gets to a point where, sort of like fiber optic, it will get to the point where it just breaks and gets soft. And if you bend the pipe and it's too warm or too hot, you'll get uneven corners, and it doesn't look very good, and it doesn't look natural. It looks like somebody just bent a pipe. So I had to experiment with different things, and I found the best thing to do is I use a candle, and I'm kind of just holding it above the candle and then taking it away, kind of working up the heat in the tubing until it can bend, and then holding it at the bend until it cools off, and that seems to be working really well because I'm getting really nice bends. This bend here is really good. This one's not. So I had a different varying heat going on here. So it's really not that bad because there's not that many pipes on this thing. There's a good amount, but there's not that many. So you can figure out which ones you want to put on, and then you have to kind of figure out where you want to bend them. And like I said before, I don't know if you saw the previous episode or whatever it was. I use these things, these calipers, so I didn't have to guess how big these pipes needed to be. I could measure in between these two spots and figure out, well, I need a 38 millimeter piece of tubing to go in there, and I cut it a little bit bigger, and then I'd file it down so it fit perfectly in there. Without these, it would have been a lot more difficult. So that you can't really get them everywhere. So if there's some spots you just can't get the calipers in, and you kind of have to guess, but you can figure it out. But they do help for the most part in determining exactly how big of a piece you're going to need. You know, up to a point, and you just cut it a little bit bigger. And I've been using actually these things to cut the pipe with, and these are for PEX plumbing. Who knows, I would have used them again. So I've been using those to actually cut through the bigger styrene tubing because it's solid. So I get a pretty clean cut with that, and I could just sand it off and get a flat end to it. The smaller ones I've been using sprue cutters on, or some sort of clippers. So I have about half of them done, maybe less. It hasn't taken me that long. I'm taking my time doing this to make sure everything's level, you know, and looks good. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's coming together. And I think I did 2 on the bottom. I only did 2 on the bottom so far. So it is coming along. Still have a lot of work to do on it, but once the piping's all done, then I can work on finishing off the engine pieces. and I'm gonna, continue to work on the piping and continue to probably add some minor detail on here, maybe some small styrene pieces here and there, just to add some detail where there should be some detail, but there isn't. So I'm sort of modeling this Y-wing off Gold 3. So this is a picture of Gold 3, and I'm sort of putting in some of the piping that I'm seeing on this guy. So there's one that goes, they all pretty much have these straight pipes that go into the forward fuselage. There's a bent pipe that's kind of going from this section here down over and into the, right behind the cockpit area. I'm going to put that one in, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to try not to burn the whole neighborhood down doing this. So this is all I'm doing. I'm kind of warming this thing up, and I'm bending it when it gets warm enough. I saw a couple of videos online where guys are bending styrene pieces for they make manifolds for like model cars and stuff, and that type of a bend is what I'm looking for. So you can feel it kind of give when it gets warm enough. So now I have a bend, so I want to go from here, and then it bends to the right, and then it straightens out, and it goes into the cockpit. So I want it to come out right. The bend is about right there. Of course, I can't find. There it is. So I'm going to mark about where I want to make that bend. I'm just going to put a pencil mark on there just to get a rough idea. It's kind of tough to bend this exactly where you want, but I can get it real close. So I'm heating this thing up again. It probably cooled off by now. So, it's getting there. If you bend this thing too much, and when it's not heated up, it'll break. Then you gotta start all over again. So it's not worth forcing it. You can feel it, definitely feel it soften up. I tried doing this a quicker way. I'm sure there is a quicker way to do this. I'm sure that I could probably be saving some time doing it a different way, but I'm probably spending more time figuring out exactly where I want the pipes to go and where they're bent than actually bending them. So it's not a big deal. I might save myself a half an hour, but I kind of like the smell of vanilla candle, so there you go. I bought enough styrene tubing to last me a long time. It's almost there. So that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'll bend it a little bit more and then I'll show you exactly what it looks like. All I'm doing when I put it in place, I'm just hitting it with some CA glue and at the contact points, and then wiping away any excess glue. So these rods are pretty sturdy, so I don't think there'll be any problems with them holding. So that gives you an idea of the fun that I've been having. And you can have this fun too if you build yourself a Wiley. I'll show you what it looks like when I have it on the ship. So there's the pipe that I just put on. And there's the pipe on the original ship. So I have to fix where it joins up. There's a little gap there. I'll fix that so you won't see that. It'll look like it's coming right out of this part right here. So I'm getting there.
Gold 5 to Red Leader.
Lost Tyree, lost touch.
I copy, Gold Leader.
It came from behind.